Kansas City hat. Kimble Anders, touchdown. Kimble Anders, touchdown Chiefs. Second touchdown for Kimble Anders. Kimble Anders finding running room. It's a race. Ray Bly chasing him. And two Rams finally bring him down. Ray Bly and Dexter.
Job as the main man, but he's no rookie to football. Former Kansas City Chief Kimble Anders is now Coach Anders.
Tackle. Anders to the 45, to the 40, and he's down.
Northeast High School is rich with tradition, but the past several years have been brutal. But one man is ready to use his experience to bring back the glory days. Coach Kimble Anders has been on the job just 3 weeks, but is already making an impact.
I have a good group of kids. That's one thing I'm very excited about.
Kimble Anders is our Greater Houston Honda Dealers Coach of the Week. Now in his third season as the head coach at Galveston Ball, it's been a happy homecoming to say the least for Ball alum Kimble Anders.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to National Scouting Service Podcast Show. I am Coach O, and we have a very, very interesting show for you all tonight. It's kind of little education on the background of Kimble Anders. He's been doing a lot of podcast shows, and I thought I just wanted to bring something different and telling about his life from where he's from, how he was brought up through high school, college, on to his professional career, and on his way into the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame. I am Coach O. You can follow me on Twitter at Coach O, also on Twitter at National Scouting, and you can follow us on Station Head at National Scouting Service as well. This show is being brought to you and being sponsored by Ink to the T. You can find Ink to the T on Instagram, also being sponsored by Uncontested Hoops. That is Coach Herb Washington. You can follow him on Uncontested Hoops if you're someone that's interested in ball skill training, ball handling, shooting, as well as the mentality of playing basketball. This show has also been sponsored by Running Back, Giving Back, which is Kimble Anders Foundation, and by Black Love and Marriage Our Way. You can follow Black Love and Marriage Our Way on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, as well as on YouTube. They will have a show going live tonight on YouTube, so be sure to tune into that. That will be at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, and this show is being broadcasted by YouTube, National Scouting Service, Facebook, National Scouting Service, and you can listen to it on our podcast radio station under Station Head. You will have to download the Station Head app and tune in to National Scouting on that. With that being said, you cannot give a big introduction or a small introduction for this individual. I'm glad that I'm having the opportunity to be able to introduce him, interview him. And with that being said, we're going to bring him in shortly, but just a little about him. I'm proud to introduce a son, a brother, a father, a uncle, a grandfather, educator, mentor, coach, and soon to be Hall of Famer, and our special guest, Mr. Kimble Anders, who will be on just in 1 second. How you doing, Mr. Anders? And I'm glad you can come on to our show.
It's great to be here today.
Well, we're glad to have you on as a guest, man, and this is a big honor for me. You know, I'm someone who always looked up to you. Also was raised by this individual. And I don't even have the words. I know we talk all the time. I'm nervous as heck being on this show, but it's different when you have somebody on the platform on your show, because you want to make sure you're doing everything right, especially for a person who's going into the Hall of Fame. So I'm a little shaken up and a little nervous right now, so you'll have to excuse me. But before we do that, this is Mr. Kimble Anders, a former NFL player, 3-time Pro Bowler, and soon to be Kansas City Chief Hall of Famer. But I want to break the ice a little bit before we go in. The key number to this show tonight is 38. The reason being, that's Mr. Kimble Anders' football number. And with that being said, I've heard and I know that you are a very generous person. So I got to go ahead and throw it out there before we start the show. Can I get $38,000?
30. I give you 30 cents. I got 30 cents for you. Hey, we good. Hey, 30 cents go a long way
it does.
now.
Hey,
Don't
I had to
knock it.
throw that out there, man. So, he is generous, but that was his way of saying no. So I guess we're not gonna get that. I guess I'm not gonna receive that. But hey, man, I'm glad to have you on the show. We're gonna get started. And one of my things I want to start off with to break the ice as well is some things that people may have not known about Mr. Kimble Anders. Now, I didn't ask him any of these things, so it's going to be a shock for him, some of these questions I'm going to ask. But
yeah.
As a youth, you played in the Wright Shepard Youth Baseball League.
Oh, absolutely.
What team did you play for?
I was the Green Machine. No, the GL team. What GL team was?
The Braves, man.
Played against the Green Machine. The Braves.
All right.
Yeah.
Played for the Braves.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, Jill was one of the best coaches out there. And we played against the Green Machine when they had Skinny Head. They had all these great players. They was loaded. And it was like a big rival every week. And truth be told, I was a pretty good little baseball player as well. I'm in the Hall of Fame for the Little League.
See, you ruined that. I was about
I knew that already. I knew that already. But,
so Kimble Anders did play baseball. So he's an all-around athlete. And he's also in the Wright Shepard Hall of Fame. So congratulations to you with that as well. Also, you grew up playing sports in Wright Cuney as well as the Galveston Boys Club, which is the Galveston Boys and Girls Club now. Kimble is also a ping pong champion as well.
Oh yeah. Hey, I think we was about 12 years old at the time. We went way to Mexico to play in a tournament up there, and I won a championship for the Boys and Girls Club in Mexico as a ping pong, table tennis champion, and I still got game to this day.
I was about to ask you that.
I don't play as much.
Because it's gonna be a couple of people out there. They're gonna question that. They're gonna challenge you when they see you. They're gonna be asking when you're ready to play. So you better get ready. You better get ready for that.
I got a little left. I mean, matter of fact, a couple of years ago, we was in coaching a few years ago. We still at the high school. I took somebody over there and beat them up one time over there. I forgot one of the coaches. I forgot who it was. I took them up and beat them over there. So definitely still got a little game.
Okay, another thing that some people may not know, you have a tennis shoe fetish. Love tennis shoes, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now,
now
believe it or not, to the people that's listening, when Mr. Anders was playing professionally, he used to buy every pair of shoes that he would wear. Yeah. So if they was Nike Air Max, he'll get 2 pair. What was the reason behind that?
Well, so the truth be told, kind of growing up right now, in our era, we had tennis shoes that was under $25, $50, so we had to actually, in my household, we had to get the hand-me-down shoes from whether it was an uncle, whether it was my big brother. So we weren't able to afford those tennis shoes at that time, even though the shoes at that time were just Converse. Nike wasn't even a big thing at the time, but Wiener shoes, whatever they may be, just having the opportunity of not having back then. So once I got an opportunity to buy those type of things and be able to, because that was my biggest thing, loving tennis shoes, even when I was a kid. And I always want to keep my shoes clean, fresh, new looking, even to this day. I don't like to get scuffs on there. I would probably take my shoe off right now and clean it before I even come on air right now, just to make sure they, because it's just for me, really. But I always wanted to have that appearance of just being clean.
Okay.
Especially on your feet. The feet was one of the most important things. Matter of fact, I know when we was growing up, my grandma used to say, if you have a clean haircut and some clean shoes on, clean underwear on, yeah, you more attractive than anybody out there. You're presentable, yes.
That is true. Now, another thing a lot of people probably don't know, you probably start getting this in the mail and people probably start volunteering. You have a love for sweets will tear you up in your weight training.
Oh, yeah.
Because Mr. Anders still work out now, people.
Yeah. Sweets, it's my downfall. And matter of fact, I was at the store today. We was picking up the food for the event this weekend, and they had this 7 what they call it, the 7-Up pineapple cake or something like that. at the store in Houston. There was a meat market we went to, and I had to get one of them. So I'm sitting in the car. We had to wait for about an hour to get the meat because it's ground meat. They was already cutting it up and stuff. And so I was sitting in the car waiting for it for about 30, 40 minutes. I sat out there and ate me some sweets. So that is my downfall.
Now, outside of being a great athlete, a family man, you love sweets. How in the world, outside of just brushing your teeth, you keep your teeth so white? Because everybody say, Mr. Anders got some white teeth.
So I was blessed. Hey, I tell you what, God has blessed me so much, man. Like seriously. And a lot of people don't know this. I'm gonna throw it out there, and people take it for what it's worth. But as a child, again, we grew up in Parkland. We, close to Cedar Terrace in the Chopper area, in an area. My mom didn't work, so we didn't have, and pretty much we was on welfare. Truth be told, because I used to hate to go to the store with the food stamps back in the days. But anyway, I'd never been to a dentist until I got to college.
Wow.
My college, sometime late in my college, I've never been to a dentist to get a tooth clean or tooth pulled or nothing. And I've never been, another thing, truth be told, I've never been hospitalized before, for illness and staying overnight or getting injured and staying overnight. When I tore my Achilles tendon, that was like a one-time deal. But before as being hospitalized, I've been very blessed with health and just as much with my teeth too. So I never been to a dentist. I didn't get that opportunity until I went to college. Never from a childhood all the way up. Never been to a dentist.
Well, that in itself is a blessing, man. And we continue to pray and wish you continued help. My last with what's some things that people may not know. In 1984, yourself and a childhood friend went and got baptized at Live Oak Baptist Church. What brought that about? Was that conversation? Was it from family? Or was it a friend saying, hey, we out here doing what we ain't supposed to be doing? Are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? We need to go get blessed.
Well, that year, so particularly that year, that purpose was we had a great feeling about our team, the class 85. And I want to say we had a group of men that were willing to go into church and together, and we all got baptized in the same.
I still see you. I still got a connection.
In the same situation. Didn't know that. Sorry about that. So as a team, we all got baptized, and it was like pretty much 80%, 70, 60, 80% of the team that went to the church, went to the same church every Sunday as a group. That's how we bonded in 1985. And again, we had a wonderful season. And it's due to that, in my opinion, because I believe we bonded as teammates and friendship. And then, when you got Father God on your side, a lot of things happen. And there was a lot of times we probably shouldn't have done some of the things we've done, but God gave us a gift and God gave us the will to do it. And I do, recognize that. And I 100% believe that's part of the success I've had to this day. Without God, there's nothing to be possible. So that was just something we did. And short story too, because I was in the church, like I say, I thought I had a drug problem growing up. Because my grandmother, they drug us to church every Sunday. I used to go to Sunday school, Bible study, 7 days a week since I was about 4 years old to about 12 years old. I was in church every day. So we went 7 days a week as a kid. But that was a special reason in 1985 that as a team, and the guy you mentioned, Pep, is one of my best friends, that we all decided as a group to go, get baptized, rebaptized at the time, and join the church.
Well, big shout out to Mr. Edward Benjamin. I did reach out to him for some of these things that I'm asking on the show today. So big shouts out to him. Now, one of the things I wanted to bring up, we kind of touched into it.
I can't hear you.
Shoot. Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you.
Still can't hear me?
Jeez, oh.
Well, we're having some connection problems, and we'll bring them back on once we get these fixed. Mr. Anders, can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Can you
hear me now?
Yes. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Well, let's see what we can do with these connections. Still can't hear me, Mr. Anders?
I say muted. Mic is muted.
Can you hear me? But I'm gonna bring you off and try to bring you back on and see if we can get the connection. Well, while we got Mr. Anders, we're gonna try to reconnect with him and see if we can get him back on. But like you said, he grew up in Galveston. We kind of got into some things that you may not know about Kimble, and we went from him being in the Little League's Hall of Fame, in the Ray T. Shepard Little League Hall of Fame. He is a ping pong champion. He has a fetish for shoes, and he used to buy 2 of the same pair of shoes every time he would buy shoes. And like he said, he would buy those shoes because growing up, they had to share shoes. So then he became fortunate enough where he can buy as many shoes as he wants. And one of the reasons being was because if he scuffed them up, he can put on another pair of shoes, which he didn't say he would give those shoes away as well when he was young. If we have any viewers that's following the show on Facebook as well as on YouTube, please post your comments or questions. We can post them where Mr. Anders can see, as well as other guests, and we can get to those questions as well. Trying to get them back on the show. And we talked about sweets. He have a love for sweets. He been eating sweets ever since he was a little kid. And he said he's been blessed that he never had to have to go into the hospital or had any teeth to be removed. And because he couldn't even afford to be able to go to the dentist when he was a little kid. And in 1984, he was baptized, brought faith into his life, and it was brought upon by one of his childhood friends and Mr. Edward Benjamin, as well as their own football team that used to go to the church. So that was one of the things that brought him into going back to the church as well. So as soon as we get him back on, we'll go into some more topics that we have for him going into playing in the Pro Bowl, as well as from high school to college and things like that. In the beginning of the show, if you missed that, I am Coach O, and this is National Scouting Service podcast show. And I think we have him coming back on now. Hold on a second. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Hold on, we have something going on with his mic. Can you hear me now, Mr. Anderson? We have like a fluttering sound going on your end. Mr. Anderson, can you? Hold on a second. Let me let him know that he got a fluttering sound going on. You can hear me now, Mr. Anders? Mr. Anders? Can you hear me? Mr. Anders, we can hear you on our side. Can you hear us?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay,
Please,
here we go. Sorry about that. Don't worry about that. These type of things happen. And I just kind of gave him a replay of what we kind of talked about in the beginning of the show and things and whatnot. But now what I like to get into now, we already gave the introduction. Kimble already told us a little about himself. We did the what people may not know. I went over that. Now I like to get into growing up in Galveston. A lot of people probably don't know that Mr. Anders grew up in Galveston, Texas, And why don't you give us a little insight about your growing up in Galveston, how things were, and how the community was close-knit, and how did you strive from that and become a stronger person and going into sports and bettering yourself as well?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to grow up in Galveston, and for me, it was a beautiful thing because at that time the city was full of people that was in the community. We seen a lot of different things in the community, and at the same time, we had a lot of leaders in our community. The Muslims were real strong back then. We had people in the neighborhood, like we had protectors in the neighborhood, even though there was a lot of rough stuff going on in Galveston. Uh, I mean, your teachers were on top of you about everything. If you got in trouble in school, your parents would know. So we just had a lot of great people in the community that looked out for the young kids and was teaching us the right things to do and making sure we're not going down the wrong path. And if we did, we will get in trouble. There was situations where, truth be told, hey, your neighbor had the opportunity to whoop you. You know, we still get whooped in school. The shoot at that time, I mean, the principal was still pelling and stuff. You know, what I mean, your coaches, and one thing you didn't want to get in trouble as a kid growing up. And then, that was about the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s era, where a lot of things was just so different. And the streets was a lot rougher back then. Every day at any given time, it's 1,000 people outside because we didn't have the video games at the time, so we were outside every day, shooting basketball, playing football. I think all our skill sets came from being outside all day because you had to be creative when you were outside, and like again, playing ping pong and racquetball. We learned how to do badminton. We learned so many things at the rec center, and that's why the Boys and Girls Club was so vital to me growing up, with the Boys Club at the time, and then Wright Cuney Park. That was some of my vital places there where I was able to escape, the times when I was at home, and being able to go outside and be free and just enjoy life. And like again, I think at some point it had to been over 1,000 people just outside hanging out, whether it was guys, truth be told, some shooting basketball, some under the dome shooting dice. It depends on whatever you want to do, whatever you want to partake in that you had the opportunity to do. But again, I always say we had some of the old school guys I always looked out for us. I can remember actually Bo, John Silver and Dad used to lift weights and stuff all the time. He'll take us over there. We'll be lifting heavy weights. And we were, I don't think we was of age. We was probably 13, 14 at the time, when he got us stuck on weight. So we used to see him outside all the time. He's big old swole guy, just muscular. So he out there just lifting weights every day. And so he pulled us over there. We started getting in this routine and just being taught the right thing to do. And that's the one thing I will say about the 70s upbringing, that we had the community where a lot of people let us do too much wrong. They made sure if they seen anything, either they gonna handle it or they gonna let your mama or your daddy know. So it's gonna be some consequence of everything you do. And so it was a great time for me to be growing up in that era, and particularly the discipline I believe that we had as any athletic sport. You know what I mean? Because it was a consequence of everything we did. We couldn't miss a practice. I don't know if I ever missed a practice in my life. I had to been like, I think I've been sick enough to miss a practice. But, growing up there, man, it was a blessing. And, again, the Cattle Beach weekends was off the chain for a long time. And,
I remember those.
So we enjoyed it. I mean, being on the island, just think about it. And I tease a lot of people. I say I'm from the island. That's what I call it, when I'm trying to be fancy with it. But Galveston is a beautiful place, and we just had a lot of fun. And like I said, it's a great small niche community where everybody know everybody. If you don't know them, ask them their first name or last name. Even to this day, you know who they are. And then also one of my stories is when I know somebody from Galveston, when I hear them say Cuney, I could be a million miles away. If they say Cuney, I say, oh, he's from Galveston. He got to be from Galveston. So, like I say, man, and it was a true blessing for me to be coming from a town like Galveston. And as you know, a lot of guys have went on to do greater things, and particularly in football. And we had a great track program, and those guys did a lot of great things. But as far as football, a lot of guys paved their way to get out of Galveston and be able to have opportunity to play in the National Football League. And if I'm not mistaken, we're in the top 5 or 10 nationally wise of having the most guys from one high school going to NFL. And that's a testament to itself. And again, we produced a lot of athletes, and it was just a fun, competitive environment. Man, we played, our freshmen, we played JV, me, Pepper. We had 12 guys on a JV team coming in as freshmen. So we had to go against these guys every day and compete. So it taught me a lot about life skills. It taught me a lot about the game itself and the toughness. And I think that's what it transitioned to when I went to NFL, when I played with older guys coming in as a rookie or coming in as a freshman in college, that you have the understanding and the mindset that, it wasn't the age, it's just the mental capacity of how you play the game and how you view the game, which makes you, yeah.
Go ahead. Well, see, I'm glad you hit on that, because I was going to get into that next subject. Like, what was the importance of family and friends? And you kind of touched on that, but to get into the ending part, because you already hit on everything that I was going to say about the importance of being in the neighborhood, how the people would bring you in to lift weights, right, going to the boys club in Wright Cuney. But what part did that play, if any, in your career from youth to youth sports, which we're going to touch on the next subject, into high school and college? But if you just want to give about just the importance of having family and friends at the time as you was coming up, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so family is most importantly the first stepping stone that you have. You have to have some support from your family. And truth be told, my mother wasn't that much into sports, but she allowed me to play. She wasn't around. She probably, be honest, she didn't come to not one football game. She came to her first football game, and when I was in NFL, we came and played the Houston Oilers back in the days. That was the first game
Wow.
Yeah, we were back that far, whatever that, the 90s. So
man, you telling your age, man.
I know. But that was not her thing, but she did support me. She allowed me to play. And my brother, he wasn't engaged in sports. But at the time it was so many athletes in Galveston. Again, we had people just sandlot football players. We had people that was known to be the best running back in the history of the game, but they never had opportunity to do it in a organized sport and excel in it, and so I was able to transition myself into being this neighborhood phenom, because I was playing, matter of fact, my freshman year, 8th grade, I could go on the basketball court and play with the seniors in high school and the grown men. We was on the same court together. And I would probably get picked like the third or fourth pick on the 5-man roster when they doing 5-on-5 whole quarter or whatever.
5-man roster.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, we was in the hood, man. We played. That's all we did. We played every day. Every day was an outside activity for us. We did not sit in the house. And the only time we sat in the house, we had to go do homework and go to sleep and eat. Other than that, we were outside all day. So a lot of upbringing that taught me how to be competitive. And that's one thing, even every day when I was in NFL, you think about this, you have to go earn your job every year. I did it for 10 years. And then and for a minute, them first 2 I had to work my way up in. But once I got my job, I held it for that 8 years, and made sure. But I had to come in and compete every day. And I knew what that looked like, because I never feared anything. I wasn't scared of competition. I wasn't scared of somebody. When they drafted 3rd round picks, 1st round picks, every year they bring somebody in to take my job. But, you just got to continue to be competitive and be the best you can be.
Okay. Now let's talk about youth sports. We knew you grew up in Galveston. Can't say that enough. Big shouts out to Galveston, Texas, where we both are from, BOI, born on the island. But you played youth sports, and it was a guy that took a lot of interest in you, and Mr. Johnny Enriquez. What can you say was his impact with you in sports and from playing youth sports? Because as we said before, Kimble is also a Hall of Famer in baseball from the Ray T. Shepard League, and you excelled in youth sports as well. So a little about youth sports, how that impacted you in your way going into high school, as well as with Johnny Enriquez being an impact with you as well.
Oh, absolutely. Johnny Enriquez, Charlotte Mexican guy. He truth be told, he's more over the boxing program and stuff. But I used to watch them because I used to go to the boys club back in Magnolia days when they just had the boys club, and they had this boxing team and stuff. And Johnny was a fierce competitor. I think he boxed a little bit on his own. But I seen a group of guys that he was training, and you just want to be part of something like that. And he took us in. We started our football league at the time, and Johnny took us in at that time, and we just got guys that wanted to play, and it was real competitive. And he taught us a lot. Again, the discipline and doing the right thing, the fundamentals. Back to this, the fundamentals of the football, we learned everything about the fundamentals first. It was never no fancy stuff. It was never, you could dribble this or do that, but it was the basic fundamentals on how to play football. And that's something that Johnny taught us from the beginning. And it carried over throughout my whole life, because if you focus on the fundamentals and you get that down, you can expand your horizon as far as possible. And then the work ethics. One thing that I will say, that we work. I mean, when you become a football player, even when you think you need to be working, you need to be working, because it's an ongoing work ethic that you got to develop, and you got to elevate every year. You never can get as good as you want, because you just got to put the work in every day, and you got to be willing to do it. And that's one thing I would say that kept me motivated. That one thing, I may have not been the best player on the team, but I was going to be the hardest worker on the team. And I pride myself off of that.
Okay, now you saying you weren't one of the best players on the team. Now
let's
get into high school sports, because I beg to differ. I want to brag a lot about this, and that's why we want to do this show, because a lot of people know about Kimble Anders as the NFL player, the Hall of Famer, and stuff like that. And before we get into that, big shouts out to Tim Park. He said, "What's good, fam?" He's on the show. He's tuning in along with others. And if you want to post comments or questions, please be sure to do so. And we'll try to get these questions or comments up for Mr. Anders to see as well. Now, let's talk about high school. What high school did you attend?
Galveston Ball.
Galveston Ball. Yeah. Now, at Galveston Ball, you already kind of went in that as a freshman, you was on JV.
Yes.
And that's not heard of. Sometimes they keep freshmen on freshman teams. Some freshmen are fortunate enough to move up and play varsity. It's been a very few to do that. Yeah, now, when you was in high school, what was your primary position before you became this big time running back that you don't want to brag about?
Oh, I was a cornerback. I was the best quarterback on the team.
You was the best quarterback. Now, if your brother was on here listening to this, man, he probably come on. It'd be a big old argument.
He's gonna hear it though. And I tell him that all the time. But like I say, we had some talent, man. I think particularly even before class 85. But our 85 class, we had some talent. We put 15 people on JV off our A grade team. So that's saying a lot. And then the next year, I believe we had 15 or 20 that was on varsity as sophomores and started. We had at least 8 to 10 starters on varsity. So we was loaded with talent, man. And then too, off of that team, we had 3 guys or 4 guys go to the NFL. We had 8 to 10 Division I players off of class 85. I mean, that's some numbers that's hard to beat. You know what I mean? I know we had some others that's been close, but those are some phenomenal numbers when you get that much talent on a team.
Now, when you went to Ball High, a lot of schools don't have this. Y'all had a total of 2 campuses, correct?
Yes.
And I showed that on the screen. So it was a Ball High North. And did y'all call the other school South, or it was just
South? It was South. Ball High North and South.
So with these 2 schools, it wasn't like all the freshmen went to one school and all the other classmates went to the other school.
Yeah, we had it set up. It was different class you took on the north side and different class you took on the south side. But you had to walk back and forth. And the craziest thing, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if it ever rained that much, but we never missed class and that was never late. We had to walk. We had, I don't know, what, a 7-minute time period. But going back and forth to 2 different campuses at one time, which was a good block and a half away, it was fun. It was great, and it was just different. You know what I mean? But it worked for us, and we ate lunch on on that side of the campus sometime, or the other side, depending on what class skills you have. It was definitely different. I don't think they can get rid of that type of stuff now. And then we had open lunch.
I was about to say,
we had
when
open lunch.
I've heard, because I've attended Ball High too, and I went through it. I'm saying I heard we had open campus where you would be able to leave for an hour and come back. But I think in these day and times, you can't do that now.
No, we used to go. I tell you what, shrimp and stuff was our favorite place to go to. Man,
big shout out to Shrimp and Stuff.
Oh yeah, they was making some real good money then. I don't think, but the food, I mean, give or take, I'm gonna go on them shrimp po' boy is probably what, $2, $3. You know, I know now a po' boy probably about $15. You know, so
right
back then we got $2 in our pocket. We was golden.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna bring this up because a lot of people don't know this as well. Mr. Anders was an outstanding basketball player now. Also, to this day and time, he's playing in celebrity basketball events, and now he say he can't dribble, which he's an outstanding dribbler in high school. He was able to dunk the ball. I don't know if he can still be able to do that. But I'm gonna put this picture up, and before we start explaining all these pictures,
oh Lord,
we have a picture up here, and that's Kimble with number 2 on. And then we have another picture on shooting the basketball. You was number 25?
Yes, sir, 25.
Okay, now explain the numbers, number 2 and number 25. Why number 2 in football and why number 25 in basketball?
So number 2, truth be told, man, I grew up, that's from the time I was staying by the chopper down and by Cedar Terrace. And they had this guy, you're going to remember his name, William Ashton, was a quarterback for Ball High. I tell you what, bro, when we were at Ball High, here's one thing I will, so we'll skip. When we was at Ball High, we didn't look at the NFL as being our heroes. We looked at Ball High. Them guys that was playing, your Charles Alexanders, your William Ashtons, all them guys played before us. That stadium was packed every game, and that's who the guys I looked up to initially coming out of, you know, at an early age, whether it's elementary to junior high. We weren't too much keen in on the NFL as much, you know. I know the Oilers was close here, but, you know, at that time we only had, 3 channels, and if you didn't see a game, you probably won't see it. So we wasn't that big on that. So those guys at Ball High at the time we looked up to, and that was some of my role models. So for wearing number 2, because he was such a great quarterback, I always wanted to wear that number 2.
Well,
and
big shout out to Mr. William Ashton, who was also a youth football coach and a police officer in our community. So big shouts out to you. That's from myself and Mr. Kimble Anders on the show. Now, we finna get into some stats because, as you said, you was a cornerback. When did you convert to running back, and when did you realize, like, hey, I really can do something at this position?
Well, it's my sophomore year. I played a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. I rotated with my brother, Israel Martin. Was that it? That was my sophomore year, right? So, so 2 years. And I rotated with him a little bit, but not really play that much. And then going into my junior year, I think it was like the first game we played Lufkin. And, you know, I kind of felt that I was a good athlete. So it was never running back or defensive back. But at the time, again, I didn't know which one I was going to, flourish in. And so coming into my junior year, after the first game, Pepper was
Mr. Benjamin.
He was the starting running back. He didn't do so well in the game, so I went in and, I don't know, scored a couple of touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, 100-something yards. And from that point on, I took over the starting running back job. And then, you know, Pepper was starting on defense too. So and it was just a transition for me to be the starting running back now. And so I took over that position from that day forth and went on and figured out. But by the time after my junior year, going into my senior year, I was committed to being a full-time running back. I really felt that with the work we did over the offseason, like, again, Coach Ted Ummerhagen, great coach, man, like I say. And again, it's a lot of coaches that have guided us through a lot of the times we've been through, from, you know, even at the Volunteers, when we played at the Volunteers, that one picture you showed, his name was John something too. It's like a lot of different coaches had influenced me. And what the biggest thing I got out of was just how to work and how to be disciplined, how to understand the game. So, but going in my senior year, I figured that, I want to be a true running back. And so I, went on, we bust out butt the whole off season, and that's what I was focused on. And I felt really good about it. And, obviously that year was a great year for me. And we didn't even play a full, and one thing a lot of people don't know, I had 1,952 yards for that season and 28 touchdowns. But we went 8-0 in district, right? And the second half of every game, besides I think it was one game that we didn't play the whole second half. That was just in the first 2 quarters of all of the yards I got for that season.
Wow.
Yeah, because we was up 56 to 50 something nothing. So we didn't.
We have not to cut you off, Coach Anders, Mr. Anders. We have a question by another Tim Park, and he asks, "What type of offense did you all have in high school?"
So truth be told, it's called the I formation, but it's a joke behind this. They say it was Kimble Anders right and Kimble Anders left. So I carried the ball 32 times a game. 32 times. And like I say, most of that was done before the half. I mean, I get 15, 20 carries the first half, automatic. I mean, it was at that point, my senior year, we was committed to the run. And we had our offensive line was pushing 300, averaging 315 pounds at that time. So
what a lot of people don't know either is Mr. Anders was one of the strongest players on that team with these offensive linemen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Say, hey, I know a lot, and I'm gonna get an audience why I know a lot. But let's go back to what you were saying earlier, like the players that you all looked up to. And I like that because, for one, like you said, nobody was worrying about the NFL. If anything, it was about getting out of Galveston and going to college. And then for two, for the players that would come back home that had the chance to go to college, these are the players that we looked up to, as well as like myself. But you speak of the numbers you wore, number 2 and 25. When I was coming through high school, Galveston ball, the Golden Tornadoes, I always had to hear that your uncle wore this number, your uncle wore this number. You need to do this is what they did. And that kind of motivated me. It wasn't no look up to Tony Dorsett or Herschel Walker. It was the people that was either in my family or the people that I was able to see and put my hands on. Coming into my junior and senior year, I wanted to wear number 4, his brother number, but that number was taken by another great athlete by the name of Mr. Roy Smith, so I couldn't get that number. So I had to wear number 2. But wearing that number 2 came with a lot of responsibilities.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't get to meet up to the expectations that this young man met up to. But with that being said, and I'm going to tell you why. In Kimble's, I think this was his senior year, he played for Galveston Ball High School, where he produced 342 carries for 1,932 yards. Now, with them 1,932 yards, I wrote this down, but hold on, because I think you was 63 yards short of 2,000, so I think you were slacking. I think you could have got them 63 yards, but I think you probably took off some plays on that. He also had 28 touchdowns to go along with being the Texas top running back in the state. And this is also, you can find, and I think I posted this, you can find this on TexasHighSchoolFootballHistory.com. It's not no lie. And with him being able to do that, won't you explain to us these 2 individuals that came to your school to meet you?
Oh yeah, there was the top dogs at running back. That's Eric Dickerson, Earl Campbell. So both of those guys were recruiting me. University of Texas, University of SMU. Obviously, I chose University of Houston, but that was back in the days when the big time guys come down and see you and try to recruit you, give you a outlook on what you can look for when you go to they college. So yeah, they came down there quite a few times during my era. And again, we had a class, man. We had Oklahoma. Oklahoma used to come down here a lot. They, truth be told, like with Eric Hill. Eric Hill was one of the top recruits. they flew a helicopter in for him to get him up to come to the school. It was just kind of a lot of stuff going on at the time. But we was real recruit. Like I said, 12 Division I players went to college off our high school 85 class.
Dang, big shouts out to Mr. Eric Blade Hill, went to LSU, played for the Arizona Cardinals, also from Galveston Ball High School. Now, with them two individuals coming to your school, you had one pulling you to go to SMU, the other pulling you to go to Texas. And I'm pretty sure they respected you a lot because they came back down a couple of times to see you some other times. How was that to tell one that, hey, I'm not going to this school, and tell the other, I'm not going to that school either, I'm going to U of H?
Right. At some point, you got to make your mind up. You know what I mean? So it's tough on that. Hey,
Yeah, I said I'm gonna get to that, but go ahead and finish answering that.
That's part of the process, though. You know, and being recruited is a hard process. Just for the young people know, you have to make your mind up what you're gonna do, and you got to be honest and let them know. Okay, I like your school, but I chose to go here. You can't play when it comes down to recruiting. You can't deceive colleges when it comes down to recruiting. So whenever you decide to get in this here, if you get the opportunity, make your mind up and lead and go with it. Go with your mind, your heart, whatever your decision is. Let it be that decision. Don't waver the fence. Don't do that, because then a lot of colleges that will see you differently, though, because you get in the wrong position and kind of toying with their mind and doing this and doing that, it can come off really bad. So make a decision and live with it. You know what I mean? You gotta live with it, whichever way it go.
Okay, we have another question from one of our viewers, Miss Nicola Wells, and she said, when is Mr. Anders gonna start some youth camps? He has a lot to offer our youth.
Yeah, that's in the making right now. My foundation is back up, running back, giving back. So we definitely will do some youth camps, focus on a lot of different things too, not just the sport itself. We talking about discipline. We talking about financial literacy. We talking about a lot of different things. So it's in progress right now. So we working on getting that back kicked up down this area.
And that is much needed. And Mr. Edward Benjamin, which is Mr. Kimble Anders' brother, he had this to post, and 22 went out to school. I don't know what he meant by that. And then
total 22. Total.
Huh?
It's a total of 22.
Oh, a total of 22.
Yeah.
And then he got Carl Hilton. Carl Hilton played out of Galveston Ball, went to the Minnesota Vikings. And I think that's what he's talking about. And then he also, Mr. Parks had put, what was your main reason you picked to go to the University of Houston?
Oh man, this gonna blow everybody's mind. It was University of Houston at the time, they just came off a Cotton Bowl win. However, so when you have this bond and friendship with some people, which Israel Morton was one of my brothers, one of my best friends at the time, and Carl Hilton was there at the same time. He was there at the same time. It was more for me that I think the University of Houston, the way they recruited me, they treated me really, really fair. But at the end of the day, I wanted to play with some of my Galveston people. I had connections with them already. So I had that friendship and that bond already with them. And on all other trips I went to, there was nobody there that I really knew or felt like I could trust. You know what I mean? So that's one of the reasons, man, because it was like being part of Galveston again. You got Israel, and at the time it was close to home, and my grandmother, she had passed away my freshman year, and I wanted to stay close to home as well too, because my grandmother was in hospice at the time when I first went to college. She passed during my freshman year.
Okay. Now, since we got college going on, we're gonna step into the college, because then after that we have your professional career, as well as going into the Hall of Fame. And I find this to be amazing too, because again, Mr. Anders, he's being bashful. He was a great athlete. He's still a great person and an individual. Okay, you went to U of H. Now,
yeah, man.
Yeah, okay. Now, while you was at U of H, how was it being at the University of Houston?
It was different. It was fun. I mean, we went there. Coach Yoma was the first coach we encountered. And, we ran a veer offense, and that's the reason I went there, to be in a veer offense, and I wanted to run the ball every down. Unfortunately, after my freshman year, he got fired, and we went into the run and shoot offense, and I had some success there as a sophomore. And then, throughout the years, you gonna go into that story.
I'm getting to that.
Yeah.
Now, when you was at U of H, how was the life at U of H in this building right here? And what was the name of this building at the time when you was at University of Houston?
Oh, was that the Towers?
Yes, sir.
That's the old Towers. Yeah. Oh man, it was a party. It was party. It was a lot of parties. That was a party. Like that's a problem right there. That was a problem. Yeah. No, but when you go to college, man, you really got to stay focused, because you got school, you got practice, and you got so much on your plate, and you got to pick and choose your parts. And you know what I mean. So, being in that environment, I would advise anybody to make sure they stay focused and getting their main objective. Now, hindsight 2020, I always say this: when you get the opportunity to go to college, you want to graduate. And that's the end game at the end of the day. And, and truth be told, I didn't have that mindset going into it. I went there, I wanted to start off in criminal justice, and I didn't really like it as much as I thought I did, or it was a little too hard for me and to do that in football. And so, but I encourage everybody to, find out the reason why they're going to school and what they want to take and what that school has to offer. If you get a scholarship, you want to make sure you earn that degree.
That's what's up. And I was going to ask you what your major was, but you already.
It started off with criminal justice. Yeah, it started off, and it was tough. It was tough.
When you went to U of H, you said y'all ran the wing tee.
We ran the veer.
The veer. What was your position when you was there at U of H?
Running back. I was a legitimate running back, so that's a whole different fullback, running back. So they had two backs. So it was the veer, the ride, shake, all that stuff. And they had like one of the best quarterbacks in the country at the time, Gerald Landry. They had a guy from Willie Davis. What's his name? Willie Davis or something Davis. They had like some great quarterbacks come through there. And then great running backs. They had Raymond Tate. Raymond Tate was like 6'2", 240, and ran about like as a running back, and ran like a deer. And also Randy Collins came there with me. My counterpart that was at LaPorte. Randy came to U of H at the same time. Both of us went to U of H together. As a matter of fact, we was roommates at one time.
Wow.
And we was cool. He was cool. He's always cool to this day. And when I see Randy, it's just a joy to see him. You know what I mean? So
okay. So but now you're leaving out another part of the offense that you played in too, which was the run and shoot. Correct?
The run and shoot. Yes. So that was after my, like I say, Coach Joma got fired after my freshman year. Then we go to the run and shoot. I come my first year, I got a plat on the wall. I rushed for 800 something yards and caught 700 something and got all these accolades. And unfortunately, come my junior year, they bring in a guy. Again, you always competing for your job, and your job can't be taken. And he was a top recruit, and they decided to put him at the. So we rotated a little bit my junior year. My senior year, they moved me to inside receiver. That was
one of the videos I showed when you caught like a little bubble
right. I truth be told, and I never say I would be a quitter, because I would never quit anything. But I was pretty pissed off at the time when it happened. But at the same time, I say, well, I'm still playing football. I'm starting inside receiver, so I'm still playing. I still give my hand on the ball. So and it worked out in the long run, and we could talk about that a little later. But switching to that position your senior year, going into everything, senior year, going to my senior year. So I was starting inside receiver, and that's how I finished my career at the University of Houston.
Okay, well, and Mr. Anders, we have a question because I don't want to lose him. Mr. Tim Park said, "Do you think the run and shoot helped with your hand skills?"
Yeah, 100%. We caught 100 balls every day, and that's the flip side of the bigger story, like the most catches in Chiefs history. So, my hands are registered. You know what I mean? I wound up, I wound up catching what? I mean, you probably got you got.
Oh no, we ain't gonna get into that. I'm gonna get to that. You ruined it. All right, now let's get into this.
We leading into because
we're gonna lead into that.
So here's the thing: it's a blessing and cursing at the same time. Now, here's one thing I will say: sometimes you're in a position that whether for me, like in my mind, I say I can quit because somebody took my job, or they gave somebody my job. Let's say that. Because that's what's happening now. A lot of people getting these transfer portals because they don't want to compete or they can't compete. I don't know. But I decided to stay there and compete and become a receiver instead of being a running back. And it hurt me through the draft. It hurted me from getting cut from the Steelers. But in the long run, the rest is history.
You jumping the gun.
I know.
Mr. Tim said he was like, wow, I see that's how OB ran the wing bubble play so good, learned from his uncle. I'm going to say I have the better hands, but he's going to say he have the better hands because in 96, myself and Mr. Anders, we had a bet who would have the most catches in the year, and I think he had 66, and I think I had 60 or 63, but he won that bet. I couldn't pay the bet that I thought I was going to win because he was going to be able to shell out more, and when I lost, I couldn't meet up to what I was supposed to owe. Now, let's get into this. We still on U of H. Okay. I'm going to read this. Kimble Anders played at the University of Houston, where he produced 261 carries for 1,359 yards and 16 touchdowns to go with 115 receptions. Now, check this out. For 1,718 yards and 11 scores. Now, being a featured running back, the best in Texas, going to U of A, how in the hell did you have more yards receiving than catching?
That's the way it was set up. We threw the ball every day.
Receiving and rushing.
Yeah, that's how it was set up for me, man. And again, it was a blessing and a cursing at the same time because I want to say being in the run and shoot, we was a little more advanced, was a little ahead of the curve. Because we went to the run and shoot. We couldn't be stopped for some years. And it took some years to figure out what we was doing with the running back, with the receivers and all that stuff. So Jack Pardee was ahead of the game a little bit. And obviously he produced Andre Ware. Andre Ware won the Heisman Trophy our senior year. Now, with us not being a top-ranked team, although I think we was ranked, but we weren't like the top 5 in the nation. And but, we got some national exposure by that and, wound up being the number 1 offense in the whole country, I believe. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, y'all were at the time.
If I'm not mistaken, we were number 1 offense in the whole country. We put up, I hate to say it, but we put up 95 points on SMU. And now that was with our first-string player played the first half. And then after that, we put our second, and David Klinger is our backup. So, David Dacus. David Dacus was our backup. We had some talent at the time too at University of Houston during that era, especially when they came with the running suit. Because then you got Manny Hazard. We started getting a lot of different people, man. And so even at University of Houston, we had 4 guys, 5, 6, big O, 8, 9 guys got drafted between the first and the third round.
Wow. Now, that's another thing a lot of people don't know, too, and I'm going to bring this up. You said you played running back and inside receiver, correct?
Yes, correct.
In 1988, it was some other big-time running backs that Mr. Anders had to compete against in the NCAA football division. Anthony Thomas out of Indiana led in rushing attempts. Mm-hmm. Barry Sanders out of Oklahoma State University led in rushing yards. Mm-hmm. Chuck Weatherspoon, one of Kimble's teammates out of University of Houston, led in rushing yards per attempt. Now, what Mr. Anders failed to tell y'all, he also was a punt returner, believe it or not. Now, I understand why he used to always get on me about dropping the ball because I didn't know in college that he returned punts because I never saw that. I only seen him playing running back. But what y'all need to know, the number 1 punt returner in the nation at the time was Mr. Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
Now, here go the catch to all of this now. Deion Sanders was the #1 punt returner in the nation. Some may have not have known what Kimble could have done if he would have continued to return punts, but Deion Sanders in 11 games had 33 returns for 503 yards. He had an average of 15.2. Let me say that again. 11 games, 33 returns, 503 yards, and 15.2 average. Now, I'm not bragging on Deion Sanders because this is Mr. Kimble Anders show. Did y'all know Kimble returned punts in 11 games in 1988? I mean, he returned punts in 11 games. He only had 17 returns. Deion Sanders had 33. Kimble had a total of 205 yards and had an average of 12.1 in 11 games. Now, just imagine if he would have did it in 11 games and had 33 returns, and Kimble was in the top 20 in the nation as a punt returner and only had 17 returns.
Hey, that's a good stat. I don't know where you found that at, but I knew that. But
you didn't know that.
I knew that. Because I'm gonna tell you one thing too. So it was a per yard. It wasn't because of the numbers, but per yard. If I bobbled the ball one time, that last game against Rice, I would have beat Deion in that per yard carry thing, a per yard average.
Average, yeah.
I would have beat him in that, and Deion was and I was nowhere near like a Deion, but I caught the ball and I ran. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but see that's an interesting thing to know because a lot of people don't know that. That's why I asked you the position you play, running back and receiver. But to leave out that, to be in that same category. Now, Mr. Anders wasn't #1 or #2. He was in the top 20. But just think if he would have got a couple of more returns, just like Deion Sanders, no telling what could have happened.
Oh no! It was just something to do, bro. I promise you. Hey, that was nothing I wanted.
That was that you wanted to do because you're a lonely man back there by yourself.
So at the same time, here's the one thing I would say though: I had the opportunity to play football, and I played receiver, and I did punt return, I did kickoff return. That's once you get a responsibility as a player. You got to be willing to accept it. You can't, and that's another thing I say, you can't dictate what you're going to be. You can't dictate you're going to be a running back, defensive back, because some guys don't want to change positions. Some guys don't want to go try a punt. You may be, so you still could be productive as a football player. And then at the end of the day, you helping your team. If they think you fit here, it may be the best fit for you. You just never know. I mean, I know a lot of people look, oh, my son should be doing this, he should be doing this. But, I think, for the most part, the coaches are not always right, but they have an idea where can we use your son at. But with that said, I'm just saying to some of the kids, don't get discouraged on where you play at. Be willing to play any position. Just go out there and ball. Whatever you do, go out there and play. Give it your all, and good things can happen. That's another good thing. I mean, it helped me in the long run. It helped me focus the things. Doing those things, it helped. At the time, I thought it hurted me, but just never know what it can do. So I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to do that, and it really helped me. And I want you to find this out because I say this, and I'm gonna throw this out here. I don't think I ever made All Southwest Conference in college, but I think I did because that number. But
you did.
I don't see it nowhere, and the reason I'm saying that because when I go to U of H now, they got all the All Southwest Conference people. My name is not up there, so. but I thought
we're going to have to get the documentation so we can give it to them because when I looked up some of these stats, you was All Southwest Conference.
I thought I did one year though. I don't know what year that was though, but I thought I did.
I'm gonna have to research that, but you.
And
did.
it might have been for a punt return though. That's what I think it was for. I don't think it was for running back, and it wasn't for receiving.
I'm gonna have to look that up. Now let's get into your professional life. A lot of people don't know as well. In 1990, you was picked up by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, when you was picked up by them, how was that? And do you feel you could have had made that team, or you don't think that you was ready for the professional level yet, and there was some things you learned that took on into your next journey?
No, I definitely should have made that team. The unfortunate thing, it was a number situation. So here's what happened. So it's a number thing. You go carry 5 running backs. They drafted Richard Bell in the first, they drafted Barry Foster in the first round, which is a great back out of Arkansas. Richard Bell from Nebraska in the 3rd round. They had Merrill Hodge as a fullback. They had Tim Worley as another back, and they had another guy named Warren something, which was like a 3rd down back. And so they already had 5 backs, so the backfield was loaded. I led the team in rushing the whole preseason and everything. But again, when it came down to making a decision, they decided to stick with the older guy. So that's the way it unfolded for me, and it was unfortunate because I did enough to make the team because I led the team in the preseason and the rushing and everything. Probably played the most besides the 1st round draft pick Barry Foster. You know how they go. Here 1st and 3rd round, you're not cutting them. You got Merrill Hodge was the great fullback / running back, and Tim Worley at the time was one of the best backs in the league. Like I say, they kept Warren, a guy named Warren. They kept him over me, which was the decision they made, and I remember to this day, it was heartbreaking because Chuck Noll at the time told me, "Hey Kimble, I think you're a great football player, and I think you'll play in the NFL, but it just won't be here."
Wow,
that's the exact words, and my heart just dropped because it was the last cut. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I really felt that, not knowing what I know now. It doesn't make that's my story, but can't tell you how they really thought, but that was my reason. I think that I didn't make it because they kept the older guy with me, and at that time, it wasn't about. Truth be told, it wasn't even free agency then. It was about they had no. Only thing they could do is get traded or cut, and they couldn't do nothing else. So at that time, it wasn't like it is now, like a lot of free agent stuff. So, and I think that's the reason I got cut from them, because at the end of the day, if I led the team in rushing in a whole preseason, and it'd be hard to cut.
Roster.
Yeah, it should have been on the roster. That's just my take, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Now with this, I'm gonna read this off, and I'm gonna let you explain to this. In 1990, you was picked up by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. Mm-hmm. You sat out a year. You was working out. You was back at home working out with your brother, Mr. Edward Pepper Benjamin, working out, getting yourself back in shape. Did you think you was going to have an opportunity to get picked up by a team, or you was just waiting for a call?
Man, I had no earthly idea, but one thing I did do, and Pepper helped me out a lot. I was sitting home for a few weeks once I got, well, actually not after I got cut, but I missed the whole season. Let's fast forward. The whole season of not getting picked up, and my agent told me I'd probably get picked up and all that stuff. But I did not get picked up that whole season. So I continued to work out. Me and Pepper, we worked out pretty much every day for a whole 6 months, then, come the springtime, had no idea what was going to happen, Otis. And my mailman came.
Hold on, wait. I don't want you to get into that. Before you start that, let me read this.
Okay.
A legendary mentor, a Galveston African youth coach by the name of Bernard W. Curtis, junior coach, Little League in Galveston for 18 years. He encouraged teamwork, hard work, above all else, discipline and respect. Now, go ahead and finish what you're saying. So tell us about this gentleman right here.
Damn, you got a picture of it. Yeah. So, man, he was came by the house one day. They say, man, he said, I can't believe you're not in NFL. I said, I can't believe it. He said, man, if I get you in contact with this guy in Kansas City, would you be willing to go out there? I just kind of looked at him like, okay, whatever, you know what I mean? I'm like, this dude tripping, man. Like, hey, 2 weeks later, I get that phone call. And again, the rest is history. I signed with the Kansas City Chiefs and played 10 years with them. So that is, like, he's in my Hall of Fame speech. He's, the guy that got opportunity for me, made it possible. Like I say, sitting out a whole year with the agents, the top agents I was supposed to be the way in. But you never know. Like I say, that goes back to how God has been so good to me because he worked in mysterious ways. And to have your mailman come by and just have that conversation with you. And ironically, the moral to that story too is he had a relationship with this guy, Mark Hatley, who had recruited me out of Texas A&M. He was a scout for the Chiefs, and like I said, so they was familiar with me, and he's from Texas, so they knew each other. So he called Mark, and that's how I got up there, man. It was just, so you just never know. Just never know where your blessings coming from. You never know what can happen. So, because at the time didn't have a clue. Man, at that time, it was like April, and we was, the draft was about to happen again or something. And next day, I get that phone. I talk to him and get that phone call. So that was great.
Well, now we're going into the NFL, and big shouts out to Coach Curtis for doing that. Coach Rusty, aka Rusty, and RIP to you. We did lose a great mentor and a great coach, as well as a father. And I know Mr. Anders really appreciate that. And like he said, he's going to be in this Hall of Fame speech, which is a great and a huge deal and a huge honor for his family, as well as his kids and grandkids. Now, in 1999, which I had the pleasure of being at this game, but the outcome wasn't a great one, but it did make you and turn you into a better person. And this was put in one of the Kansas City newspaper, as well as in the Washington Post, people, the Washington Post. Anders, a former Pro Bowl fullback, was converted this year to halfback. If you didn't know that, Mr. Anders also played halfback or tailback for the Kansas City Chiefs and carried 22 times for 142 yards in a Sunday game that they did win 26-10. You remember who that team was?
The Broncos.
Yes, sir. Against the
Broncos.
Denver Broncos. Now, this was the biggest day by a Kansas City running back since 1991. 8 years before that, Kimble is the only running back that put up these type of stats. But the unknown happened, which we didn't expect to happen, because I told him when they told him he was going to running back that it's a possibility. And I don't know if you remember this. We were sitting in your living room, and I say, you know what, it's a possibility you can be the first back to go to the Pro Bowl as a fullback and tailback.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he ruptured his Achilles tendon. Now, when that happened, what was going through your mind? Did you think your career was over? Did you think you can come back and have another stellar career at tailback, or they was going to move you back to fullback, or they was going to let you go?
Well, so at that particular time, I was very concerned about what type of injury it was. I didn't experience no pain or nothing, just something that just happened. And I was trying to recover from that. And I put my best effort to make sure I was fully healthy when I got back. And I came back healthy. But unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way, because I was 33 years old at the time. So, going to my 10th year, again, this where the politics come in, that, they went on was going to move forward with somebody that was younger. And so I came back the next year and played some, but not much. And it's funny, too, because, again, I'm back in a situation now where I was still on special teams. And actually, the coach, one of my good friends, the coach, I can't think his name now, but special team coach, he asked me would I be willing to return some kicks and stuff or whatever. And I was like, I'm still playing. It don't matter, because at the time I wasn't getting much playing time, coming back in my 10th year, besides that game when somebody got hurt. And that's against the Rams that year. And you know what happened? Nobody got hurt. So kind of worked my way to playing a game, and that game I rushed for like 3 touchdowns and 57 yards against the Rams that game. And then so we went on a losing streak about 4 or 5 games, and then that's when they stopped playing me, because we had no opportunity to go to the playoffs and stuff, and they won't start looking at some younger running backs. And that was, it's a business decision. That's something I think that the NFL does a lot, and that's part of the game. It's really just not football. So that's some of the politics that comes into place when things like that happen. So at the same time, I was, again, pretty upset about it. But at the same time, you can control what you can control. And I always say that It's just be the best you, give them the best you all the time. And, you know, if they'll accept that, then oh well.
And Mr. Benjamin wanted to put against the Denver Broncos in that game. He had them stats in the first half. People, he ain't even played
Yeah, that was in the
the
first
entire
half.
game, so he probably would have went for
half.
200 yards, like Mr. Benjamin also posted. He was on his way of rushing for 200 plus yards, and we would have seen a lot more of this coming because, again, in high school he was a running back. In college, he was a running back, a receiver, which when they came into the run and shoot, they call it the super back at that time. And some other things that some people probably don't know. Kimble had 2 games where he went over 100 yards on October the 22nd of 2000 versus St. Louis Rams, who was also Super Bowl champions. He had 102 yards. On September the 18th of 1999, that was against Denver. He went for 142 yards. Mr. Anders also had 10 games over 50 receiving yards. A lot of receivers not doing that to this day. The first game was over 100 yards, which he recorded on December the 30th of 1999 versus the Miami Dolphins. He had 103 yards. The second game, he went over 90 yards of receiving, and that was on December the 4th of 1996 versus my Indianapolis Colts. And he had a 96-yard game on September the 20th of 1997 versus the Carolina Panthers, in which he went for 94 yards. And these are receiving yards, which you can see he developed that at University of Houston as an inside receiver. So he always had the hands. Those are some stats that you probably didn't know. Like I said, I had to do this research because I wanted to make sure that this show was a good show because I'm hosting it. And anytime you're doing a show on a future Hall of Famer or anybody of importance, you want to make sure you're getting the things right for their show that they can always go back and look back on. Pretty sure you're gonna find some mistakes. I know you're gonna critique me about this show, but that's fine.
No. I just want you to finish it because you got the total numbers on the whole
Oh, I
thing.
I have all of that, Mr. Anderson.
I just want to make sure
I have all of that.
Hey, you did your homework.
I did my homework.
Because some of those things I don't know, but now that you just named some stuff I do not know. So
see, I'm getting some round reports. Can we go back to that 38K, or are we still away from that? All right.
You got some good stats. Look at you. You did some real homework.
Yeah, I did do that. Now let's get into the athletic director and the head coach, Kimble Anders. For a lot of you all who don't know, he had a very stellar career. He was an athletic director as well as a coach. He coached at Fort Osage High School. He coached at Avila University as a football coach. He coached at my alma mater, one of my alma maters, at Mid-America Nazarene University. He also was the head coach at Central High School, also the head coach at Northeast High School in Kansas City, Missouri. He was the athletic director of the Kansas City, Missouri School District from 2009 to 2013. He was the Ball High head coach as well as the athletic director from 2013 to 2019. Also was the Honda Coach of the Week in his term at Galveston Ball High School. Did his internship with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, totaling 9 years as a head coach, 4 years as a collegiate coach, and 10 years as a high school coach and high school head coach and an athletic director. Those are some phenomenal numbers. So if anybody questioning his coaching and being an athletic director, you can't. The numbers don't. What they say, numbers never lie. The numbers never lie. So with that being said, congratulations to you on that, Coach Anders. And last but not least, going into the Chiefs Hall of Fame. My question to you, how important that is to you, being a part of history in the Kansas City Chiefs organization as well as around the NFL, because they would know about it as well, and having a mural in the stadium that you question myself and Coach Anders, Mr. Edward Benjamin, about when we saw this mural. Yes, Mr. Anders have over a total of 3 murals in the Kansas City Chiefs Stadium, which he didn't have no idea about. And these ain't come about just because he's getting voted into the Chiefs Hall of Fame. These murals was in the stadium when he was a player of the Kansas City Chiefs. So how important it is to you, Mr. Anders, in going into the Chiefs Ring of Fame?
I tell you what, man, it is definitely a blessing, and definitely something that, like I say, man, it's history. It's something that's gonna be there forever. I mean, my grandkids, my kids' grandkids, it's gonna be forever, and that speaks volume of all the stuff you shared from the beginning all the way up, from my childhood up until my adulthood, up until now, since I'm in my 50s, mid 50s, and to be able to see that and be present and be in that name, because at the end of the day, I say you playing for two things. When you playing for any sport, you playing for a championship, and some are playing for the Hall of Fame. My goal was never like I was playing for the Hall of Fame, but that's a accolade that's is so high on the list, because like I say, you playing for a Super Bowl ring. That's all. Everybody want a championship. I hope that's everybody goal. You want to win a championship, and then to have your name put in the Hall of Fame, Ring of Fame, or any honor, fame is great. The accolades of the All Pros and all the other things are great, but the highest pinnacle of all of that is the Ring of Fame at your organization, at a Hall of Fame in Canton, and those are things that speaks for itself. And if you get opportunity to make it at that on that peak or that ladder, that to me you did one hell of a job. So I'm very thankful that I'm getting recognized, and like you said, the kind of low key statistics that I'm not even fully abreast to, that has been a lot to others, if they really look at it. And but it's just I feel great. It's awesome, man. I'm very just honored and thankful, and and it's just one of those things that I can kind of rest a little at ease right now, that I got opportunity to just be considered to say I'm a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? So I got a little different, might have a little different swagger now. So I don't know.
That you do. Well, with closing, man, I want to say I really appreciate you coming on the show. And to close out, I want everybody to know that Mr. Anders played for the Kansas City Chiefs for 10 years. His first start came in 1992. He played in 3 Pro Bowls back-to-back, and this is something that is hard to do in the NFL, which was in 1995, 1996, and 1997. He accumulated 2,261 career rushing yards on 495 carries and 9 touchdowns. Now, that he didn't stop there. He also had 369 receptions for 2,000, and again, more reception yards than rushing yards, which I don't understand, for 2,829 yards with 9 reception touchdowns. In that day and time, you know how tight ends saying, I want to get paid receivers money. Just imagine if he was able to say that and get paid receivers money, which is the most by a fullback or a running back. He once was a running back, but he had all of these total yards and receptions, more than any fullback to come through the Kansas City Chiefs organization, as well as a running back by the Kansas City Chiefs organization. That's a feat within itself. Mr. Anders, man, we are so proud of you. Congratulations. We can't give enough round of applause for the accomplishments that you have made and that you have set in stone in the Kansas City Chiefs organization. Your name will be forever heard within the stadium or seen in the stadium or with the murals, unless they bring that stadium down. But guess what? If they rebuild, it goes right back up for others to see. It just will not be that original stadium. Also, Kimble Anders also won the Unsung Hero Award, and they still present that award right now in the high schools, which he presented when he was the athletic director of the Kansas City, Missouri school system at Northeast High School, I believe. Is that correct?
Correct.
At Northeast High School. So big shouts out to Northeast High School with that award, as well as employing Mr. Anders when he was into coaching. Are we going to get back into coaching? Is that something you're looking into on the high school level, collegiate level?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I like to get back into coaching, and again, like I say, right now I'm focusing on getting back and giving to the community and setting my foundation up, and put myself in position to be around kids and try to help them through some things in life and be a positive impact down here in Texas right now, and just showing some kids some different things about life and being a mentor. That's my lifelong dream right now.
Okay, well, before we close out, Kimble do have some things upcoming, events coming up. And as we know, Kimble Anders will be inducted into the Chiefs, soon to be a Hall of Famer inducted into the Chiefs Hall of Fame. That will be on November the 6th of 2022 when the Kansas City Chiefs face the Tennessee Titans, correct?
Correct.
When they face the Tennessee Titans. And Kimble Anders has a youth program coming up, which is the children's poetry and illustration. I'm going to put that flyer up. The children's youth and illustration, that will be at Wright Cuney Recreation Center at 718 41st Street in Galveston, Texas. If you need information on that event, you can call 489-354-2788 for information. He also have events coming up for adults as well. This children's event is on Saturday, October the 15th. Tomorrow, October the 14th, he will have a Hall of Fame celebration party that will be held at Club 68 in Galveston, Texas. I don't have the address to that, but you can look up Club 68 in Galveston, Texas. Then he will have the children's event October the 15th in Galveston, Texas. That start at 2 o'clock from 2 to 4.
Yes.
From 2 to 4, 2 to 5 p.m. So be sure you tune in to that. These will also be posted on my National Scouting Service Facebook page, as well as on Instagram and on Twitter under National Scouting and National Scouting Service on Facebook and on Instagram. Also, he will have an after party after the children's event at the Spot, which is located in Galveston, Texas. So please come out to say hello to Mr. Anders. And I'm just throwing this out there. Get your autographs while you can, because once he becomes that Hall of Famer, everything comes with a price. He paid the price of being a professional, a respected professional, and going into the Hall of Fame, as well as being an All-Pro and going to 3 Pro Bowls. With that being said, Mr. Anders, man, we really appreciate you on the show. Is it anything that you would like to say and add, or any shots out you would like to give?
Nah, man, I'm just, like I say, I give a shout out to yourself, man, for being, what you're doing right now today. I appreciate everything you've done for me and the community, and I appreciate, just the way you are, man. I watched you growing up as a young kid, and we're sitting here today and being able to enjoy each other and share these moments and share our history and teach these young kids about, morals and values, and something that's on our list. So I'm thankful for you guys, the people that supported me over the years, and to my family and my kids, man. Without them, I don't know where I'd be doing right now. You know what I mean? So
Well,
with that,
hey,
I'm just blessed, man.
hey, big shouts out to the family. I got to get ready to get off because I have a class that I have to take. And for y'all that don't know, Mr. Anders is my uncle. He's been telling me to go back to school, and now I finally done it with the support of my wife as well. I already obtained my associate's degree. Now I'm working on getting my bachelor's. So I'd like to thank you, Coach Anders, Uncle Kimble, as well as my wife, and a lot of y'all that probably didn't know too. I used to be over Mr. Anders' public relations under his running back, giving back organization. And he used to always tell me, because I kind of had a gift of helping kids and helping kids get in school through sports, that I don't always have to be under his umbrella. I need to get out and start my own. And that's why I started National Scouting Service. So that's a big up to you as well. And before we get off the show, I have an ending video in respect and to the honor of my uncle going into the Hall of Fame. Thanks for everybody that tuned in with their questions and stuff like that. He's laughing because he always don't know what I'm up to. I always have something up my sleeve. But with that being said, man, we hope y'all enjoyed the show. Mr. Anders, thank you very much. This show is brought to you on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Stationhead, TikTok, and YouTube. If you want to reach out to us on coming to the show, high school athletes, coaches, or players or whatnot, you can email us at nationalscoutingservice@yahoo.com or at nationalscoutingservice@gmail.com. With that being said, I'm just to bring this video up. We're going to close out with this video. I'm going to hide myself from Mr.
One of the fun parts about today, one of the best parts about today, is the opportunity to get to announce the newest member of the Chiefs Hall of Fame. Today is my pleasure to welcome Kimble Anders into the Chiefs Hall of Fame.
Kimble played for the Chiefs for 10 years. Teams he played on made the playoffs 6 times. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler. Over his career, he played in 125 games for the Chiefs, collecting over 5,000 yards in total offense. And he did about half of it running the ball and half of it catching the ball, and he's in the top 15 in both categories all time for the Chiefs. In addition to being an incredible player, he's also an amazing man. Since he retired from football, he's founded a nonprofit to help children with healthy lifestyles. He's served as a head football coach and an athletic director for over 2 decades. And now he's part of the Kansas City Ambassadors, and he's a true treasure of the city of Kansas City. Please join me in welcoming Kimble Anders into the Chiefs Hall of Fame.
The run to Kimble Anders. Sweep left 35, 30 in the open field. Gonna outrace